A tire can take up to 4,000 years to decompose. It sits in the earth, refusing to break down, quietly leaching chemicals into soil and groundwater. For decades, this made it one of the most notorious wastes on the planet, rejected almost everywhere. Today, engineers hunt for it. They call it the black gold of road construction.
Every year, the world discards over 1 billion tires. Seen from above, they look like dark oceans. They breed insects and turn entire regions into dangerous pollution hotspots. They don't rot, they trap rainwater, they breed disease-carrying insects, and they turn entire regions into pollution hotspots. This mountain of waste demanded an answer.
The answer is rubberized asphalt. A single kilometer of road can consume up to 10,000 tires, and the road it reduces traffic noise by around 6 decibels. Pollution turned into pavement. Sold as scrap, a worn tire is worth only a few cents. But look inside. Natural rubber, synthetic rubber, bound together. To a recycler, that isn't garbage.
It starts with logistics. Specialized trucks run fixed routes, collecting tires from garages, load. It's not glamorous, but it stops tires while cutting transport costs.
First, the steel bead must go. It locks the tire to the wheel. In recycling, it's the enemy. It chips blades and snaps drive shafts. A hook rips it out in seconds, yielding 2 kilos of high-quality steel.
Next, a wash that looks trivial but isn't. High-pressure jets strip away mud, oil, and embedded gravel. Miss this step, and every stone becomes a tiny chisel, then cut entire line.
Now the shredding. High-torque cutters with heavy alloy blades turn deliberately slowly, and that's the point. Slow cutting generates little heat, so the rubber never softens or gums up the blades. The chunks then go to secondary grinding. They are reduced further, and the last steel reinforcement is mechanically fractured out of the rubber. 2 products, now metal and clean crumbs rubber. Then everything is sorted by size on vibrating screens. Anything too large loops back for regrinding and nothing is wasted. And one fraction matters most. That precise size is the raw material of rubberized asphalt, and it's what the rest of this journey depends on. Before rubber can meet bitumen, it must be dried. In a slowly rotating inclined drum, hot air drives off residual moisture while leaving each particle's surface chemically ready to bond. But the heat must be controlled precisely. Overheat it, and the rubber scorches, and loses the elasticity that makes this whole idea work. Now the moment recycling pays off. Bitumen is heated to a stable liquid, and crumb rubber is dosed in. Paddles drive a vortex for 36, and the rubber does something remarkable.
It swells, absorbing light oils from the bitumen. The mixture thickens, becomes elastic, and learns to resist cracking.
The finished mix is discharged into trucks with preheated beds so it won't stick or chill on the way. From here, the count in the road, and heat is what makes paving possible.
The paver's augers spread the mix across the full lane, and the screed lays it down to precise thickness. Then the rollers move in fast. Steel drums for compaction and smoothness.
Pneumatic tires to seal internal voids. All of it must finish before the mix falls below 180 degrees, or the bitumen loses its grip. And here's the part most people never learn. The road itself becomes raw material again. Old pavement is pried up and shattered in an impact crusher. Screened into clean fractions, a single plant can process hundreds of tons an hour, and much of it goes straight back into new asphalt. So the loop closes. A tire that would have poisoned soil for 1,000 years becomes a road that's quieter, tougher, and when that road wears out, it becomes the next road.